Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Kampong Kid Life, where we talk about coconuts, the universe, and everything else in between. I am Douglas Kampong Kid, and I will be with you for the next 60 minutes. And over the next 60 minutes, I am going to share some perspectives, okay, from my reality box, from my experience. Not that it's uh, the absolute truth, but it is a perspective, a way of looking at things. And I hope that in the process of taking a look and sharing some experience and some of what I see from my model of the world, that I can create some more insights for all of you. And we can then partake and share of our reality boxes and create magic. Okay, so let's see what's the topic for this evening. Topic for this evening is how to practice self-compassion. This is going to be a long answer. So I want to talk about this thing called compassion a little bit. What is compassion? What's compassion? Compassion is being kind. Compassion is being understanding. Compassion is care and love. Is empathy and sympathy and everything else wrapped around. Um, wrapped around being kind or demonstrating kindness. And so, if that's what compassion is, then self-compassion is being kind to yourself. And what I find really interesting is that question about practicing self-compassion. Um, does it is it something that happens naturally? Do we automatically practice self-compassion, or are we more often than not hard on ourselves? Okay, are we more often than not being tough on ourselves? Okay, so much that we actually need to ask the question, okay, how do I stop that and practice a little bit more of this thing called self-compassion? Or why do we not? Okay, why will we not? Okay, if compassion is about kindness and self-compassion is being kind to yourself, why would anyone not be kind to themselves? Why would anyone want to beat yourself up more than be kind to yourself? And so what happens more? Okay, do we beat ourselves up more, or are we more often than not kind? Which happens more? Okay, and I think frequently we tend also we tend okay not also we tend to have expectations. Okay, we tend to have expectations of ourselves, and then we also tend to allow other people to have expectations of us. Okay, and then based on those expectations and based on whatever it is, we attempt to fulfill those expectations, and when we fall short, okay, when we don't achieve the level of results, quality of results, the speed of the results, or even just the results that we desire, and then we start to beat ourselves up. Okay, that oh my god, I couldn't do it. Okay, I was not good enough to do it. I didn't know how. I didn't. It was short of what was expected. And then we go into a mode of disappointment with ourselves. Other people are disappointed with us too, and then we make that wrong. Okay, we make that wrong, and all sorts of judgments and uh, yeah, all sorts of judgments come in about how it could be done. It could have been done better. It was maybe I was not good enough, and all those things, everything else in between that comes in, that then um, beats down on the spirit. And the question I have with that is this: Is it then okay to let ourselves go? Okay, if I choose not to be hard on myself, okay, does it mean that I'm letting myself go? That I'm compromising on the quality of the outcomes? Am I being easy if I practice compassion, self-compassion? Am I being easy on myself? Am I setting the bar too low? uh, am I accepting that I can't be that good? Does it mean all that? Okay, so it makes that a very interesting question, because if I practice self-compassion, what does that mean? Okay, does that mean that I'm forgiving myself, that accepting that, hey, it's okay not to meet those expectations, or should I have these high expectations or these high standards, and push myself towards achieving those high standards? Okay, but the thing is this. Okay, we are all good at something. Okay, we are all in this lifetime to do something. Okay, before I talk about which, I believe we are all in this lifetime to do something. And we come into this lifetime with a set of talents. Okay? And the thing I say is this, okay, we are already masters. We are already masters with whatever it is that we will be and are good at. Okay, we already have the ingredients, what we need to do. So we've got the raw, okay, in a metaphorical manner. We are all raw diamonds or gems, okay, that just need to be polished. Okay, so and each of us being that diamond already has value and shaped a certain way, and all we need to do is bring out the shine. Okay, and from that perspective, each of us are unique. Okay, each of us are unique with our set, with however our talents are shaped, to be then able to do something that we are designed to do in this lifetime. And our job, okay, my job is to discover that. Okay, is to discover that by first understanding and taking a look at who am I. And I've talked about this frequently as well in many of my other live streams. Okay, it starts with understanding who I am and what gifts I possess to create the value that only I can create, that nobody else can. Okay, but the second thing also is this, that we all create inversions. Okay, we all start from somewhere and we may suck. Okay, we may suck at it, but we can get better. Okay, the difference is this. Okay, knowing that I suck at something, knowing that I'm bad at something, doesn't mean that I will stay bad at that thing forever. I will only stay bad at that thing if I don't continue to develop, okay, or acquire knowledge, skills, and tools around that core ingredient, my talents that I already have. Okay, so my job is to develop that. Okay, my job is to get good at that. But in order to get acquire knowledge, skills, and tools around that, I need to know what that is. I need to know who I am. Okay, and most people, and from working with a lot of people in my life, that is one thing that I've realized that most people do not have the awareness of. They don't have the language, they don't have the vocabulary, they don't have the ability to actually describe, hey, this is the thing that I have, these are the talents that I have, this is what I am here in this lifetime to do. Okay? And so that's that thing that we are here to do. But if I ignore that, if I don't know what that is, number one, if I don't know what that is, or I ignore that, and I attempt to do everything else except except doing stuff around this talent that I have, okay, then I might fail. I might fail to be as good as what I could be if I developed my skills around something that doesn't revolve around my talents or who I am. If my talent, okay, is creative, is being really, really creative, thinking out of the box, and I do something that's really, really regimented, that's very, really, really, really structured, that's really, really cast in a certain way, that goes against the nature of who I am. I can put a lot of knowledge, skills, and effort into that and not be able to achieve the level of results that I would have had I invested my time, energy, and resources around being creative. Okay, because being creative is who I am. Okay, being regimented may not be. Okay, but if I don't know that I'm creative, then I don't actively discover or search for that creativity, or I don't have that awareness, okay, I may spend a lot of time and effort experimenting with a lot of things, okay, and not being able to ever achieve the level of results that I would have in all these other areas. Okay, this and the second thing that comes along is that if I don't know, okay, if I don't know who I am and what I have, and I allow other people to tell me who I need to be or should be, and I don't claim my space in this life. I don't claim my space to be Douglas, the creative person. Okay, and I am swayed and allow other people to tell me who I should be, and I develop, okay, acquire knowledge, skills, and tools, and develop skills, okay, in all these other areas that other people are telling me or expect me to be or to do, that is not who I am, I'm going to struggle a lot. Okay, I'm going to spend a lot of my life wondering how come life is so tough. Okay, how come I'm not able to achieve the level of results that I desire doing all these things. And then I start to beat myself up, because then I start looking at other people who are really, really good at all these other areas. Okay, the person who's really good at being in a living, creating something that's very structured and regimented, okay, who may be gifted that way, is brilliant at it. Okay, and I'm going to compare with that. That's what I'm desiring to be. It's not who I am, for whatever reason, whether due to the lack of clarity, due to other people telling me that I need to do that, then I'm forever going to be attempting to be someone I am not. Okay, and at the deepest core, at the deepest level, if I am not acquiring knowledge, developing skills, okay, around who I am, my talents, okay, I am actually being really, really harsh on me, because I'm going to put in a lot of time, energy, and resources doing things that I may never ever be as good as if I had invested in who I am in the first place. Okay, if I'm an artist, creative, and in a world where engineering, being an engineer, being a technical person, being whatever it is, being a lawyer, architect, doctor, okay, that's not who I am. Okay, and I'm deep down inside, I'm an artist, but being an artist is not priced. Okay, number one, I may not even know that I am artistic in that manner, but in a world where everything else is being priced a lot more, number one, and without my awareness of what I am good at, and I attempt to do all these other things, I set myself up for a life of struggle. Okay, and that is the most unkind thing, okay, that any of us can subconsciously do. And then we create this life of struggle, and then we wonder why. Okay, we wonder why are we, why am I not so good? Okay, as the other person, as the person who's, okay, so there are people who are gifted to be engineers. Okay, there are people who are talented to be doctors, to be architects, to be law. Okay, or whatever else it is. And if it's not me, then I'll forever be comparing with someone who may be really, really good, and I'll start beating myself up. Okay, from not being able to be as good as that person. And life is going to be tough. Okay, and I will forever have that feeling that, hey, I'm not good enough. Okay, I don't have the talents, and that's the truth. I don't have the talents to be that. Okay, but each of us, but I have the talents to be the most amazing creative artist. Okay, that I'm not developing. And the greatest and kindest gift I can give to myself is actually to know who I am. And then to be able to live authentically, okay, fully from integrity as the artist, as the creative person, and then creating and creating and creating and creating and creating and creating. Okay, and when I am in alignment with who I am, then my mastery will show. Okay, that is the life, or that is the path of least resistance. Okay, the funny thing is this. Okay, when something is really, really easy for us, okay, we tend to take it for granted, and we tell ourselves that's too easy. That's too easy, and life is supposed to be more difficult. And then we look for the difficult thing to do. Why? why why do we do that? Okay, why do we look for the difficult things to do, the more challenging things to do? Okay, that's not in alignment with who we are. Okay, if you're going to look for the difficult thing to do, then at least look for the difficult thing to do that is in alignment with who you are. Okay, be the better artist. Okay, push the bench up. Okay, push the yardstick up. Okay, being the creative person instead of looking for something else to do that's not who you are. Okay, so practicing compassion is first, okay, knowing who I am. Okay, and being responsible in acknowledging and accepting that, hey, this is my gift. Okay, this is my gift that I have like nobody else. Okay, and that's what I will assert. Okay, that each of us, as much as we may be similar, okay, in how our talents may seem, okay, each of us actually come with a very unique set of gifts with which we are supposed to do something in this lifetime that only we can. And if we are not doing that, we are depriving the world of the value that we can actually create from who we are. And that, to me, is the greatest tragedy. Okay, when we attempt to do everything else except the thing that we are designed to do, that is the greatest tragedy. Because then we would have not lived fully. So practice compassion for yourself by first acknowledging who I am, what I need, what I can be aligned to, and then develop around that. Are you going to be good from day one? No, we create inversions. Okay, and in a lot of the programs that I do with people, okay, I talk about stages of growth. And we all start, okay, from a stage of helplessness, because we start raw. We start with nothing. And then we start with nothing and we create something. Again, we feel helpless because we don't have the knowledge, skills, and tools that allow us to do a lot. Okay, but we can learn. Okay, knowledge, skills, and tools can be acquired. Talent cannot. Okay, knowledge, skills, and tools can be acquired. Talent cannot. Okay, if you wish for the talent of someone else, too bad. You will never. Okay, there is no way you can acquire the talent of someone else. Okay, there is also no way that anyone can acquire your talent. Okay, and so if I'm not utilizing my talent and I desire the talent of someone else, I'm setting up myself to fail because it's never ever going to happen. So invest, okay, in acquiring knowledge, skills, and tools around your talent, and learn and move from helpless. Okay, as you learn, you will move from helpless to hopeful. Because when you start to learn, you will realize that, hey, I can acquire knowledge, skills, and tools. I can get good. Okay, I am at this point in time, whatever I'm doing, if I'm committed to doing my best, I can't do any worse. Okay, if I'm committed to doing my best, I cannot do any better either. I can only be at my best at any moment in time. That's all I can be. And then I can get better. And then can get better and better and better and better. And that is the process of mastery. Along the way, that's the process. That's the journey of making mistakes and correction. Okay, so life is as much as the process, as much as it is getting to a goal. But it starts with, who am I? What are my gifts? What am I meant to do in this lifetime? And if I acknowledge that and develop my life around that and create value for others around that, that is the greatest act of compassion, self-compassion, that I can perform. Does the daily grind make us forget our dreams? It depends. It depends on what the daily grind is. The reality is, okay, that there will be a daily grind. That's what we need to do. Okay, that's what we need to do. We need to grind. Okay, we need to hustle. We need to do something every day. What matters is what the grind is. Okay, if the grind is about doing something around my mastery, okay, around getting better at who I am being, about creating more value, okay. Don't get me wrong, okay. If you're, whether or not you're developing around your own talents or not, okay, it's going to take work. Okay, it is just where the work will lead you. Okay, if the grind is around my talents and what I do, okay, I'm going to know. Okay, I'm going to know right at the core of who I am being. Okay, that is going to be worth it. Okay, that is going to lead me closer to the life that I am I am meant to live. It is going to help me get better. Okay. It is going to be a process, that journey of what I will say is willing grind. I'm willingly grinding. Okay. Um, I'm willingly grinding and getting better at whatever it is. Okay. And I won't complain about the grind. Okay. But if I am doing something that's not coming from who I am, okay, if I'm doing something and I'm grinding something that somebody else is telling me to grind, okay, and it's actually not something that I'm aligned to, or I'm aligned with, and I do that, okay, after a while it's going to start to become meaningless to me. Okay, I'm going to start asking myself, what's the point of doing that? Okay, I'm not going to enjoy the process, and I'm not going to get better or good at it, or not as good as I can if I were grinding my own talents. Okay, the metaphor I'll use. Okay, am I grinding my own sword? Am I grinding somebody else's sword? Okay, and if I'm grinding my own sword, I know I'm grinding my own sword. Okay, it's going to help me get to where I want to go. Okay, because I'm sharpening it, I'm polishing it, I'm making it shine, I'm doing whatever it is. Okay, but if I'm grinding somebody else's sword, okay, and I might not even know how to grind it well. Okay, I might not grind it as well, and in the end, it's not mine. Okay, I'm just grinding it for someone else. Okay, and at some point in time, I might it might be taken away. Okay, I might lose it, or I might just lose interest. Okay, so how does that relate to dreams or not? So if you're grinding your own sword, if you're grinding, if you're doing the things in your life and working really, really hard, okay, from who you are, and enjoying that process. Okay, enjoying that process, enjoying the growth, enjoying the learning, knowing that, hey, this is absolutely who I am. This is absolutely the life that I imagine living. Okay, this is absolutely okay, something that I'll be willing to do now and for a very, very long time, as hard as it may be, because it's going to help me get to where I want to go. If it's going to help me get to my dreams, okay, that I'm grinding towards my dreams. Okay, but if I am not, I don't get closer. Okay, and after a while, I ask, if I'm not getting closer, I ask, what's the point? And I give up. But in the meantime, I've wasted time. Right? I've wasted time grinding something that doesn't belong to me. I'm wasted time grinding a sword that's not even mine in the first place. I've wasted time developing things, okay, that's not who I am. And I've lost time, which I can never ever take back. And that's when I will start asking, where in the world am I going with all this? Okay, that's when, and if I continue doing that, okay, my spirit will start to die, because I'm going to start looking at my life and start thinking that this is not the life that I want. Okay, and even if we may not be able to recognize that cognitively, okay, even if we're not able to recognize that from an intellectual, logical perspective, the soul knows. Okay, the soul knows, and the soul will start to feel empty, and then the soul will start to die, because that's not what I am here to do in this lifetime. And if I'm doing what I'm not here to do in this lifetime, okay, everything else is meaningless. And then we give up on our dreams. Okay, so depends. Depends. What are you grinding for? Take a look. How to be wise and rational when you're going down. I feel that comes with a lot of awareness around this thing that I will call cycles. Okay, we all go through cycles in life. Okay, and I talk a lot more about this in the Ignite Your Ikigai Zone program, where we talk about a formula, okay, what I call a formula of life. And knowing what that formula is, to me, prepares someone a lot more. Okay, when you know, okay, when you know there are patterns in life, okay, you know that patterns in life and cycles being one of them, okay, there will be ups and downs. That's the duality of life. Okay, there's up and there's down. Okay, there's light, there's darkness. Okay, there's good, there's bad. There is always a duality, and there's chaos and there is order. Okay, and we are constantly swinging between the two ends of that duality. Day turns to night and night turns back to day. Okay, we are born, we live, and then we die. That's a cycle of life. Okay, there are seasons through the years, okay, where you plant the seed, you nurture, and then you harvest. Okay, there's time for growth. There's time for growth. There's time to learn. There's time to rest. There's time to harvest, and then there's time to rest. Okay, and then the cycle starts. So everything goes through these cycles, okay, that exists as waves. Okay, that is how life works. Okay, we don't stay up all the time, neither do we stay down all the time. Okay, we just fluctuate between the ups and downs. When we are down, okay, when we are down, when we right at the bottom, we can't go lower. Okay, right at the bottom, we can't go lower, and when we know we can't go lower, then the only other direction to go is up. Okay, if we don't allow ourselves to stay down, the only other direction to go is up. What is scary? To me, what's a lot more scary is when we are up, okay, we don't know how much higher we're going to climb before we start to come down again. Okay, that's the cycle. When we are going up, okay, we build and build and build and build. Okay, when we are up, we enjoy the momentum of being up. When we come down, we prepare and then we rest, okay, for the next cycle. So when we are aware of cycles, okay, when we are aware of the ups and downs of life, when we are in chaos, what do? Okay, we look for order. Okay, and as we look for order, we will find the patterns of order within the chaos. And as we discover the patterns of order and chaos, we actually grow in that process because we start to see order in chaos that we've never seen before. And when we can find these patterns of chaos, we start to discover the order despite the chaos. And then we move towards order, and when we are when we are in the state of order, okay, we rest, and then we prepare for the next stage of chaos, knowing, okay, that's what I do, knowing that the chaos will come, and then the next cycle will start where I'm going to learn get new knowledge. Okay, I'm going to get more experience. I'm going to get new skills. Okay, to be able to identify bigger chaos and to be able to see bigger order in this bigger chaos. Okay, so up and down are just cycles, are just parts of the cycle, and with at each part of the cycle, there is something that I can do and need to do. When I am down, I need to prepare to get to go up. Okay, when I am up, okay, I need to conserve and I need to rest and prepare for the next cycle of coming down and going up again. Okay, it is doing what needs to be done in each part of the cycle that's appropriate for that part of the cycle. Okay, if I am down, okay, I cannot rest. If I rest, if I'm on the down cycle, okay, I cannot rest, because if I rest, okay, what does that mean? Okay, it means that I might stay down. No, when I am down or moving down, I need to prepare and start to move up. Okay, so knowing what to do in each part of the cycle is what matters most. Okay, but before that is acknowledging and understanding that there are going to be cycles. Okay, there are going to be cycles, and just be prepared for the cycles, because these are the ups and downs of life. Okay, but most people will look at, oh my God, okay, everything is not working, everything is going downhill, and all that. Okay, I just know that when that happens, okay, it is a downward cycle. I need to prepare for the next up. Okay, if I complain too much and I waste this time on the down cycle not being prepared, okay, when it's time for the cycle to start to go up, I'm not going to be equipped. Okay, I'm not going to be ready to take the ride up. I may not have the momentum. Okay, so when I'm down, right, so I need to prepare and speed up, so that at the bottom I can push up again. But if I'm coming down and I give up, oh my God, no, so I resist and I slow it down. Okay, I stay on the down a lot and I don't have the momentum. And when I get to the bottom, I don't have the momentum to go up. Okay, so recognize the cycle. Recognize that life is a cycle. Okay, life is up and down. Okay, and just know. Okay, just know what you need to do at which part. Okay, don't resist. Don't resist, because what does resistance? Resistance means that you're going against the flow. Okay, of the natural state of things. Okay, and if you want to fight with the universe, the universe will always win, because that's the nature of things. Okay, make the universe your friend. Make the ups and downs your friend. Okay, prepare whatever you need to do and do it at whichever point of the cycle you're at. Okay, and enjoy the ride. How do you know that you're a bossy leader? The results that we create are a reflection of who we are. The results that I create is a reflection of who I am. Okay, that's the fundamental principle. I cannot create from who I am not. Okay, I can only create from what I am. Right, so I cannot create with what I don't have. I can only create with what I have. Okay, and if that's the fundamental principle and it applies to everything, it will apply to my relationships, it will apply to my financial results, it will apply to my teams. Okay, so I look at my outcomes. Okay, I look at my outcomes and I look at, and based on what the outcomes I'm creating, I will see who I am. Okay, most people, most people may not realize that. Okay, if my results are the result of who I am, and I look at my teams and look at how they are, I look at my relationships, I look at how the shape, quality of my relationships, I contributed to that. Okay, and if I have a team, if I have a team, okay, so if I am being bossy, what is my team going to look like? Okay, what does being bossy, what does being, I'm always talking about the essence of who we are. And if the essence of who I am includes being bossy, okay, what is being bossy? Being bossy is I want my way. Okay, regardless of um, whatever is going on, okay, regardless of whatever we talk about, regardless of uh, all the conditions that exist, um, I want my way. Okay, I want it to be done a certain way. I want it. I have set of expectations, and I just want it that way. Okay, because my way is the way. Okay, or you can say whatever you want. Okay, go ahead, but in the end, you just do it my way. Um, if that's who I am in being bossy, then it's going to show up. Okay, that people may start, um, may stop talking to me, giving me feedback, because it's no point, right? Because if whatever they tell me, I'm going to override them anyway because it's always my way. Okay, if I have people who are subservient, okay, my team members who just follow instructions and don't put a lot of energy in, okay, to be creative, to do things differently, to um, optimize or leverage on their talents, but just does things based on what I am telling them to do. Okay, that's just a reflection of what I have created from who I am being. Okay, our environments, our results are a reflection of who we are. Okay, regardless, okay, whether it's bossy leader or any other area. Okay, if you really want, results never lie. Okay, if you want to see who you are, take a look at what you've created. No right or wrong. Okay, it is not a right or wrong, good or bad thing. Okay, whether you want people to do things your way, okay, however your way is, my only question is does that work for you, or does that work against you? Okay, are there people going to be unhappy? Yeah, maybe. Okay, is it bad to be bossy? Sometimes not. Okay, is it good to be bossy? Sometimes no. Okay, in the end, what works? Okay, in the end, what do you want? Okay, there will be consequences of however we choose to be and whatever we choose to do. Okay, am I ready to deal with these consequences? Am I ready to deal with people who just have given up, okay, doing things that they could be doing in a better way because I have, in my bossiness, okay, shaped the environment a certain way. Okay, so I am creating all the results in my environment. I'm creating all the results in my relationships. I'm creating all the results in my life. Okay, and if I'm okay with that, then I'm okay with that. Okay, the only problem is when it's not working and I'm not okay with that. Okay, then something has to change. Okay, if my being bossy doesn't work or creates outcomes that I don't desire, then maybe that's not working, and I need to do something about it. Okay, but if it's totally working, okay, then that's what it is. If I value other people sharing their opinion and perspectives and reality box, then I've got to allow that to happen. Okay, and maybe then I need to put that bossiness in the back seat so that I create a space, so that I create an environment for other people to show up. Okay, instead of disappear. Okay, so in the end, it all goes back, okay, to who I am, understanding who I am, and then making decisions on what I need to create, what I need to do to create what I want to create in this lifetime. Okay, and in the end, at the end of it all, is looking back and say, hey, I made the choices that I made. Okay, I achieved the results that I've achieved or not. Okay, I've created the failures as much as the successes and everything else in between. I've created the relationships that work as much as the relationships that don't. I've created people who've respected me, and I've created the people who may not. Okay, but everything I create at the level that I know myself. I create at the level of my awareness. I cannot create more than that. But can I be more aware? Yes. I can expand my consciousness. I can expand my awareness. But I must first know that I can. Okay? And only when I'm able to expand my consciousness, expand my awareness, expand beyond what I can, what I see in my model of the world, then I can change and do something different. Okay? So how do you know you're a bossy leader? Go and take a look. Take a look at the outcomes. Take a look at your team. Take a look at what's working and what's not. Okay? That's all. Take a look. Okay, and then decide. Okay, if you want to continue to be bossy, go ahead. Let go be continue. I have absolutely no judgment. Okay, bossy or not. Okay, if that works for you, then go ahead, do more. Okay, if it doesn't, if you don't like what you see, then perhaps something needs to change. What is a true leader? To me, a true leader is someone, okay, beyond shadow of doubt. Okay, beyond shadow of any doubt. Okay, it has to be someone who knows, firstly, who he is. Okay, that's true leadership. Okay, but before I talk about true leadership, I believe, okay, and I assert that all of us are leaders. Okay, all of us are leaders because we each of us are making choices that shape the path of our lives. Okay, so each of us are at the very least leading our lives, even if we allow other people to tell us what to do. Okay, and we allow other people to tell us what to do and how to live. Nobody's forcing us. Okay, we always have a choice. Okay, and only I can live my life. Only we, each of us, only each of us, only we can live our own lives. Okay, we, as much as other people can influence and tell and everything else in between. Okay, set expectations and all that. We still make our own choices about what we say yes to or no. Okay, what we allow and what we don't. Okay, so fundamentally, all of us are leaders in our own lives. Fundamentally. Then I go back to the awareness of who I am. Okay, as much as I am making choices, okay, based on what other people are telling me, okay. My awareness of who I am matters. Because if I don't have a high awareness of who I am, then I am going to be very easily swayed. Even though ultimately I am the only person who can make the choices that I make, yes or no, whatever it is. Okay, but I will be easily swayed, okay, by what other people tell me, what the environment tells me, what programming, um, how programming shapes the choices and decisions that I have in my life. Okay, what I should do or shouldn't do, where I should go or shouldn't go, okay, and everything else in between. Okay, and if I'm easily swayed, there is no way, okay, there is no way I will be able to find my own true path, because I become like a float in the water in the ocean, okay, that's just being pushed around and washed around by the waves. Okay, if I am afloat in the ocean without a rudder which creates a direction, without a sail or a propeller that moves me forward in whatever direction I want to go, if I don't have that, okay, I'm just going to be subjected to the waves, to the wind, to the weather, to the environments, and I'm just going to float along, okay, based on whatever the conditions are, based on the stronger wave, the stronger wind, the stronger current, okay, and I'm just going to be floating around in this ocean of life. Okay, so until I discover my engine, until I discover my rudder, until I develop and build all that, okay, I'm just going to be shifting around. Okay, and I'm not going to be able to go anywhere concrete. And that's not, and to me, true leadership is the person who is absolutely clear who he is, what he has, where he wants to go, okay, and is not influenced by the crowd. Okay, the crowd doesn't matter. He may take input, he may take information from his environment, but he makes the final decisions in where he wants to go, what he values, okay, what matters to him in his lifetime, what he wants to create, and develops himself and lives with full integrity and is in full alignment with who he is. Okay, and when someone is able to do that, that person is inspiring and people want to follow. Okay, not because he has a title, not because he has money, not because of anything else except for the energy that the person has, the conviction that he has, okay, with what he wants to create from who he is being. And that inspires other people because it gives them hope. It gives them hope because it tells them what's possible, that it is possible to live life authentically from who we are being. So it takes one person to stand up and say that, hey, this is possible. And then others would follow. It takes one voice singing in the darkness, and then there will be other voices who will sing along. And that to me is the mark of true leadership. Okay, it is not the title, it is not the status, it is not the politics, it is not the economics. Okay, it is not the looks. It is not. Okay, and to me, some of the greatest leaders, okay, are some of the most down to earth and humblest people on this planet. Okay, who are just living life purposefully, okay, in a way that is meaningful, in a way that is that creates value in a way that just resonates. Okay, that just sends out vibrations and resonance of true authenticity. Okay, and then people want to follow because people are inspired. Okay, that is the true leader. How do you maintain prosperity and health? Invest. invest, invest, invest in what? Part of the work that I do, I talk about the 9 dimensions of wealth, and the 9 dimensions of wealth to me is total wealth, is holistic wealth, is everything that life is about. And the 9 dimensions, how the 9 dimensions look, okay, also is different, okay, for each of us, okay, because we have different ways of investing in the 9 dimensions. We have different ways of developing, nurturing the 9 dimensions, and the different things that we look for. And we are also differently talented, okay, in different ways, okay, that then shapes the development of the wealth in each of these dimensions. So prosperity is about growth in any or all of the wealth dimensions. Okay, prosperity in wealth, okay, is growth. Okay, it just simply means it's healthy growth, and the wealth is increasing. Okay, for those of you who've not who don't know me well enough, okay, when I talk about wealth, I am never referring to money. Okay, I'm never only referring to money. That's not my definition of wealth. Okay, my definition of wealth is about creating sustainability in every area of life. Okay, and that's where the 9 wealth dimensions come in. So prosperity is about growth. Okay, if I'm investing, okay, and for those of you, okay, the 9 dimensions, okay, community wealth, cultural wealth, economic wealth, emotional wealth, environmental wealth, intellectual wealth, physical wealth, spiritual wealth, and vocational wealth, 9 dimensions. And physical wealth is where health comes in. Okay. I could broaden the definition of health to include intellectual wealth, emotional wealth. Okay, besides physical, so physical is about body, intellectual is about mind, emotional is about the state of our hearts, and spiritual wealth, which is the state of our soul. Okay, meaning and fulfillment. So I could put all this into my definition of health as well. Okay, and if I want to um, not only maintain, okay, but enjoy growth, okay, in this dimensions of wealth, then I need to invest. Okay, I can't nothing comes from nothing. Okay, energy is not created or destroyed, it just changes form. Okay, and if there's no energy invested, there can be no growth. Okay, so if you want to enjoy prosperity, you need to invest. Okay, what do you invest in? Okay, intellectual wealth is about knowledge. Okay, grow your mind. Okay, grow your knowledge. Okay, expand capacity. Emotional wealth is about understanding, acknowledging, managing emotions, emotional energy, emotional capital. Physical wealth is about investing in this body, okay, to be able to do what you need the body to do when you need the body to do it, to have the strength, the speed, the stamina, okay, the agility, the dexterity. Okay, it doesn't happen. We're not born with that. Okay, so we've got to invest. Spiritual wealth is doing the things that are meaningful and fulfilling. Okay, that allows the spirit to soar. Okay, that allows the soul to enjoy, experience, experience joy. Okay, and there's nothing more blissful than a joyful soul. Okay, so you want prosperity in health, you've got to invest. Okay, how you invest, what you invest, how you develop. Okay, each of us um, do it differently. It looks different for each of us. This what prosperity means, what prosperity looks like, what wealth looks like in these 4 dimensions. Another topic for another time. But you got to invest. Okay, folks, that's it for our Thursday evening from Kampung Kid in Singapore. I hope that today's session has been meaningful. Um, I hope that it has given you some insights, some different perspectives. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next week, next Thursday. In the meantime, please like, share, subscribe, and take care. Kampung Kid out.